foot on the gas with 3 Jaylen Brown threes, ending the first quarter on a 23-1 run, leading by 44 at the half, leading by as many as 56, and winning by 52. 140-88, the Celtics trounce the Warriors as the Warriors wrap up the 4-game road trip 3-1. So they do their job on the road, but they got it handed to them today by Boston.
It's time for Warriors Wrap-Up. We'll bring you into the locker room and hear from Coach Kerr and the players. Highlights from the game. Warriors Wrap-Up starts now.
Yes, it does. Welcome in. A historic loss for the Warriors in Boston this afternoon. Final score 140 for the Celtics, 88 for the Warriors. As you just heard, Kevin Dana there on the call here on 95.7 The Game, filling in for the great Tim Roy. This road trip did a great job. Tim Roy will be back on the call here on Wednesday when the Warriors return home to take on the Milwaukee Bucks. Of course, looking forward to getting Tim back. Looking forward to having the Warriors back in town as well. And despite the way the road trip ended, again, with a 52-point loss at the hands of the NBA's best team, this was still a hugely successful road trip for the Golden State Warriors. They go 3-1 on this trip. Wins in D.C. against the Wizards. You beat the Knicks in New York, the Raptors in Toronto, before falling to the Celtics in Boston. Honestly, going into this road trip, if you offered 3-1, you'd take it without a moment's notice. You'd probably take 2-2. 2-2 is the baseline. Anything less would be an abject failure. But 2-2 or better, you'll take 3-1. You will certainly take. So we can try to look at the bright side of things. A 3-1 road trip, that's good. Today, bad. Very bad. It was 21-21 with a handful of minutes left in the first quarter. And then all hell broke loose. 21-21. And the Celtics closed the first quarter on a 23-1 run over the final 6 minutes. So they led by 22 after the first quarter, but that was not it. They kept that going into the second quarter. At halftime, they had built a 82-38 lead. They led by 44 points. It was a 61-17 Celtics stampede over the final quarter and a half of the first half. It was 21-21 and then 82-38. Some of the numbers, there's a lot of statistical anomalies in this game. We'll get to it all. And then the Warriors waved the white flag at half. Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson did not play in the second half. For Klay Thompson, he did leave the game in the first half and went back to the locker room. The ESPN broadcast did call it a hamstring issue for Klay Thompson. Did not seem to be anything major. But none of the regular key veterans played in the second half. And why would you? Down by 44 points at halftime. You're already on the end of a road trip where you've been all over the East Coast in a span of about a week. Take them out. Wave the white flag. Get ready for the Bucks coming up on Wednesday at home. You fly back today. You get a couple of days off at home. The Warriors have not had a couple of days off in a while. Enjoy that and get ready for a homestand. You got a 3-game homestand, a 3-game road trip, and then a 3-game homestand once again. So welcome in. It's Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. Mark Grandy with you. Want to hear from you guys. Obviously, the game was disappointing, and we don't need to break down all the individual moments like, I can't believe Chris Paul did this, and Jonathan Kuminga struggling with that, and all of that. Like that's not what this game is. We're going to hear from Steve Kerr coming up, and Steve Kerr just said, no, not worried about the performance. This is just one you flush, you move on, you're happy with the 3-1 road trip, and you get ready for what's coming up at home. But I'll take your calls on anything you guys got about this Warriors game, about this Warriors team as a whole, about the stretch of basketball that they're in. Whatever you guys want to talk about, I'm here for on Warriors Wrap-Up, 888-957-9570. That's also the Comcast Business text line. I see a couple of texts coming in from the 510 and the 925. Also, our YouTube chat, of course, powered by First NorCal Credit Union, youtube.com/957 The Game, if you want to participate in the YouTube chat. So the Warriors opened this in an interesting way. And again, it was 21-21 halfway through the first quarter. They were in this game for the first 6 minutes, despite the fact that they were purposefully leaving Jaylen Brown wide open. They were not contesting his threes. They had no plan to. It was almost the way teams defend Draymond Green at times. It's the way that the Warriors, I think back to the series against the Oklahoma City Thunder when the Warriors came back from a 3-1 deficit. The way the Warriors would not even defend Andre Roberson, right? You remember Andre Roberson for the Thunder? He was a really good defender, but very challenged offensively. They would pretend he didn't even exist. A couple of years prior to that, I guess the 1 year prior to that, the first year the Warriors won the championship, when they fell behind 2-1 against the Memphis Grizzlies. Remember what changed that series? The Warriors said, all right, Tony Allen, yeah, we know you're a great defender. Guess what? I'm not going to guard you, Tony Allen. We're going to pretend you don't exist offensively. And that worked. So this strategy has worked for the Warriors in the past. The only difference is, as Mike points out on the YouTube chat powered by First NorCal Credit Union, Jaylen Brown's a star, and he's a hell of an offensive player. Is he the best three-point shooter in the league? No, but he's near 40% from downtown. You give that guy open three after open three after open three, he's going to make you hurt. And he had 19 points, made 5 threes in the first quarter, and it was his threes on 3 consecutive possessions that began that run, the 23-1 run at the end of the first quarter. It was 21-21, and then it went Jaylen Brown 3, stop. Jaylen Brown 3, stop. Jaylen Brown 3. Suddenly it's a 9-point game, timeout. It continues. Suddenly it's a 23-1 run for Boston. And instead of being down by, you could have been ahead. It was 21-21 with 6 minutes left in the first quarter. Instead of being ahead, close, tied, whatever, you're down by 22 points going into the second quarter. The Warriors put out their normal rotations for most of that second quarter, and they tried maybe to get back in it. But once he, got down by 30, 40 points near the end of the first half, this game was over, and the Warriors waved the white flag. But an interesting strategic decision there from Steve Kerr and Draymond Green, because it was Draymond Green's man. Draymond was matched up with Jaylen Brown. Also interesting. And they decided not to guard him. And you're going to hear Steve Kerr coming up in a little bit here on Warriors Wrap-Up. He was asked about that decision. I imagine that the answer is, well, we're trying to find a way to allow Draymond Green to help with some of the other Celtics players, because even without Kristaps Porzingis, they still got a number of really good offensive weapons, and Draymond Green is at his best when he's able to help off of his man and defend others. But the issue with that is when the man that he's helping off of is an all-star and a very good offensive player like Jaylen Brown. He has his deficiencies, but he's a hell of a basketball player. He's going to make you pay. And he did. Interesting. Jaylen Brown, he put up 9 threes in the first quarter. I don't have those numbers in front of me. I would venture to guess that might be the most threes he's put up in a quarter in his career. He made 5 of them. He was 6 of 12 from the field in the first quarter. He scored 19 points, 5 of 9 from downtown. Also had 3 rebounds and an assist in that first quarter. It was an epic run for the Boston Celtics. So again, 21-21 with 6 minutes to go in the first quarter. The Celtics closed the first on a 23-1 run over the final 6 minutes. The Warriors only scored 1 point in that time, the final 6 minutes of the first quarter. It was a Klay Thompson technical free throw. They were 0 of 7 shooting with 3 turnovers to close the quarter. And over the final 18 minutes of the first half, the score went from 21-21 to 82-38 Boston. That is a 61-17 run over 18 minutes. I'm not sure what part of that run, what part of that score is more surprising or appalling. The fact that the Celtics scored 61 points in 18 minutes or the fact that the Warriors scored 17 points in 18 minutes. But during that 18-minute stretch, the Warriors were 7 for 28 from the field, shooting 25% during that stretch. The Celtics were 23 for 37, 62% from the field during that stretch. During those 18 minutes, the Warriors had 3 assists and 8 turnovers. The Celtics had 13 assists and 1 turnover. Any way you slice it, those final 18 minutes were ugly. 44 points at halftime. The Warriors trailed by. It was the largest halftime deficit of the Steve Kerr era. The 44-point lead for the Celtics at half, also their largest halftime lead in franchise history. How about that? Largest halftime lead for the Celtics in Boston franchise history. This is arguably the most historic franchise in the league. Talk about all the Hall of Famers that they had way back when. Some of the greatest players to ever play the game of basketball have been Boston Celtics, and they have never had a halftime lead larger than they did today against the Golden State Warriors. They led by 44 at the halftime break. This halftime score, 82-38 in favor of the Celtics, that's simultaneously the most points the Warriors have allowed in any half this year, and the fewest points they've scored in any half this year. So this was undoubtedly the worst half of the Warriors season, and it was not particularly close. Now, I say all of that, and I'm going to couch it with this. 3-1 road trip. Losing this game by 52 points, guess what? It still only counts as one loss. The Warriors, 3-1 on the road trip. They've still won 13 of their last 17. They are continuing to climb in the Western Conference standings, although not today because they lost, of course. They did get help elsewhere. The 76ers held on and beat the Mavericks. That is a huge result for the Warriors. You've got a game later on tonight that could help you out as well. When the Thunder visit the Suns in Phoenix, the Warriors should be big Oklahoma City Thunder fans in that game. The Phoenix Suns are catchable if you are the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors currently are only 3 games behind the Phoenix Suns, and Phoenix is sitting in the 6th spot. So if you're looking at the bright side of things, which I think Warrior fans should do because this is still a team that's playing really good basketball, a 52-point loss, it counts the same as a 1-point loss. And if you were to ask me, given the state of the Warriors right now, there's been all this talk about Steph Curry and fatigue, and this team has been all over the place. It wasn't even really much of an all-star break for Steph, and yada, 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 and all that. I know he's denied being fatigued, denied being tired, and of course he's going to, even if he doesn't feel that way. Regardless, that's not the point of this. The point is the Warriors are a veteran team, one of the older teams in the NBA, and they have been playing, unlike them of years past, they've been playing meaningful basketball for a while now. Like, when the Warriors were really rolling, even 2 years ago when they won the championship, they were comfortably in the top 4 of the Western Conference. So at this stage of the season, they did not need to push themselves a ton. They didn't need to get up for games in January and February. And okay, it might change now into March for that Warrior team a couple of years ago. But when you're already 20 games over 500 and you've got so much room between you and like the 4th or the 5th seed, like, you don't need to play every single game like this is a game we gotta have. But when you're the Warriors of this year, when you're the Warriors of last year, and you struggled out of the gate, you struggled for like the whole first half of the season, these games mean more to you now. So the Warriors have been playing meaningful basketball for a really long time. What does that mean? It means a little bit more strain on Steph Curry, on Draymond Green, on Klay Thompson, on everybody else. Not that they can't handle it, but you're putting a larger strain, physical strain, on your body because of what happened earlier in the season. So, if you were to ask me, Warriors lose this game, would you rather it be a 1-point loss where Steph played 38 minutes or a 52-point loss where Steph Curry didn't play in the entire second half? Honestly, I'd take this result. Use this as like a hard practice day. You scrimmaged in practice. You got 2 days off. Get ready for the Bucks coming on Wednesday at home at Chase Center. And again, maybe that's being a little too biased. Maybe that's being a little too much of a homer, but a loss is a loss. Does not matter how many points you lose by. A 1-point loss, a 52-point loss, they mean the same thing in the standings. And this one comes at the end of a road trip where you still go 3-1. You've still won 13 of your past 17 games. You've won 8 of your last 9 road games. The Warriors are fine. And we're going to hear from Steve Kerr coming up here in just a little bit. I'm sure he is not he is not worried about this one either. Also do have an injury update as well. Brandon Podziemski, who has not played the last 2 games. Steve Kerr did say that he expects Podziemski to play on Wednesday at home against the Bucks. And if today was a playoff game, Steve Kerr said Podziemski would have played. So that knee inflammation from Podziemski, not a big deal. If this was a gotta-have-it game, a postseason game, or win and you're into the postseason, whatever the case was, Podziemski would have played. So that is good news for the Warriors there. All right, 888-957-9570. That is also the Comcast Business text line. Give me a call if you want to join the program. We will hear from Steve Kerr coming up here in just a little bit. But let's first go out to the phone lines as they're beginning to light up here on Warriors Wrap-Up as the Warriors fall to the Celtics 140-88, a 52-point win for the Boston Celtics. Historic loss for the Warriors, the most lopsided loss of the Steve Kerr era. A number of crazy statistics, crazy factoids coming from this game. The largest regular season loss of Steph Curry's career, regular season and postseason. Just the 4th time over the last 4 seasons they've trailed by 50 or more. Pardon me, just the 4th time over the last 25 seasons the Warriors have trailed by 50 or more. And Boston now is the first team in NBA history to win 3 games by at least 50 points. Wild, crazy numbers coming out of this game for the Warriors. All right, out to the phone lines we go. 888-957-9570. Up first is Mark in Millbrae. Mark, what's up? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, man? Yeah, hey, what are you going to say? Tonight was a debacle. Celtics just playing incredible basketball. If the road trip, you told me 3-1, I thought this would be the one loss. I don't think any of us expected it to be this lopsided. But right now, with the way the Celtics are playing, and with the way the Warriors just struggled in that place right there, when they get on top of you, it's lights out. So hey, you got to tip your cap to the Celtics. They did beat them back at Chase, but tonight Celtics were just outstanding, start to end. No two ways about it. That's why right now they have the best record in the league. And right now, honestly speaking, they have more pressure than any team in the league to win the title. Because let's face it, the Celtics have been a major disappointment. They've been the best team in the league the last, 4+ years. They've either been the number 1 seed, the best record, and they've choked in the playoffs. So they've got a lot of pressure on them. And now they loaded up. They got Porzingis, even though he didn't play tonight. They got added Drew Holiday, which was big for them. But for them, it's title bust. So more than any other team. As far as the Warriors go, you'll take it. Still playing great basketball. As you mentioned, great time for them today. At least Dallas lost again. We'll see about Sacramento. But the Warriors are sitting pretty right now because they're closing in on the 8th seed right now. And I'm not going to be surprised if Sacramento starts a little fall off right now. I think the Warriors have the most favorable schedule the last 20-plus games. So if you're them, you want to hone in on that 7 seed. I don't think Phoenix is going to fall back that much, but I think the 7th seed right now, Sacramento and Dallas, I think, are going to slide a little bit. So I like the Warriors on that. You got a huge game I'm going to be at on Wednesday night. Huge game against Milwaukee. So I'm looking at them from their perspective. I want them to set their tone at home because they're playing great on the road. Love the way they're focusing, but this is a huge test against a red-hot Milwaukee team. I want to get your thoughts now. Can they get this swag they got on the road back at Chase Center? Because let's face it, they've been an average team at home all year, and Wednesday night you're going to be well-rested. You got a red-hot elite team in Milwaukee. I want to get your thoughts on that. Where do they go in terms of honing and locking in at Chase Center and getting back that persona they've had before this year at home? Thanks for the time.
Yeah, appreciate the call, Mark. You're right. Milwaukee is playing a lot better of late. They've now won 5 straight games. They're 7-3 in their last 10. It seems like maybe they've figured it out under Doc Rivers just a little bit. That experiment was going very poorly early in Doc Rivers' tenure, but 5 consecutive wins. They're up to the 3. In fact, they're tied with the Cavaliers. They're just percentage points behind the Cavaliers for second in the Eastern Conference. So Milwaukee still a very good team. They're at 40-21. They're in town on Wednesday for the Warriors. And Mark, you are right. The Warriors actually better on the road than at home. They're now 16-13 away from home this year, and 16-15 at Chase Center. You said they've been an average team at home all year. Really, they've just been an average team all year. I guess below average early, and they've been above average lately. But all in all, at home, on the road, pretty much an average team. Now, considering what the Warriors were last year when they won just 11 games on the road last year and were like the best home team in the NBA season ago, that home record's a little bit surprising. And as we talked about on the pregame show on Warriors Live, if you were with us, I was talking about what's on tap for the Warriors after today's game. So now the Warriors head home. They've got a 3-game homestand when they have the Bucks on Wednesday, the Bulls on Thursday, and the Spurs on Saturday. After that 3-game homestand, you've got 3 games on the road and then 3 more at home. So the Warriors' next 9 games, 6 of them are at home. But after that, you're not really at Chase Center for all that much, all that long, the rest of the regular season. After the next 9 games, when the Warriors have 6 of them at home, 9 of the next 11 are on the road. And then you close up the regular season with 2 games at home. But you got a stretch where 9 of 11 are on the road just before the end of the regular season. So if the Warriors want to get some home cooking going, and they need to, because if you are going to climb in the Western Conference, you got to stack some wins together when you are at home. Take advantage of the friendly confines. Take advantage of your crowd. Take advantage of not traveling. Take advantage of getting a good night's rest. Take advantage of sleeping in your own bed. Taking advantage of the comfort level when you're warming up, when you're walking back into your own locker room, all of that. Take advantage of it. The Warriors have not done that really all season. Again, 16-15 at home this year. That is as surprising of a number when describing the Golden State Warriors as any number you can point to this entire season. 16-15 at home. And to Mark's point, there is an opportunity to climb in the Western Conference. Their goal should be and is the 6. Right now, the Pelicans are at the 5. The Suns are the 6, a half game behind the Pelicans. And then you've got the Kings at the 7, a half game behind the Suns. The Mavericks, a game behind the Kings for 8th. And then the Warriors, a game and a half behind the Mavericks for 9th. So if you are eyeing the Warriors to jump up to 6, they would have to jump over 3 teams, and they'd have to make up 3 games at the moment. The Suns are 6th, and the Warriors are 9th, 3 games behind them. That is certainly doable. Now, if they're not 6, they would take 7. You would take 8. The Warriors, at the very worst, want to be 8th, because that means you guarantee yourselves 2 shots at a play-in game. Because remember, the way the play-in works, if you're the 7, you play the 8. If you're the 9, you play the 10. The winner of the 7 and 8 game, and the higher seed hosts, the winner of the 7 versus 8 game is the 7 seed. The loser of the 7 and 8 game then plays the winner of the 9-10 game. The winner of that game then is the 8 seed. So if you're the 9 or the 10, you have to win 2 games. At least one of them will be on the road. If you're the 10, both of them will be on the road. If you're the 7 or the 8, you only have to win 1 of 2, and at least one of them will be at home. If you're the 7, both of them will be at home. So if the Warriors can't get up to the 6, they at least want to be the 8 and guarantee themselves 2 shots at a play-in game to earn themselves a right to make the playoffs, to actually get into a 7-game series. Now, then you got to worry about who you're playing. If you're the 8, of course, you'll play the 1. If you're the 7, you'll play the 2. If you're the 6, you'll play the 3. And the way the 3 are right now, I mean, they're all tied. OKC, Minnesota, and Denver all tied. OKC is up by percentage points, but they're all essentially tied with each other. It might come down to the wire to determine who you're playing, so the Warriors will not be, I would imagine, they will not be basing their seeding on who they could be playing. They're basing their seeding purely on giving themselves the best shot in the play-in, which is simply get as high as you can or avoid the play-in entirely. There's certainly room to do it. Now, what becomes difficult is it's not just about the number of games you have to make up. Again, the Warriors only behind the 6th seed by 3 games right now. It is that you have to jump a number of teams to do it. If the Warriors were to finish as the 6th, they'd have to jump 1, 2, 3 teams to get up there, which means you need to keep winning and you need some help elsewhere. Now, if you close the season like winning 80% of your games, then maybe you only need a minor blip from those other teams, but you are going to need some help, and you're going to need those teams to lose just a little bit as well. All right, so the Warriors, they fall a setback in Boston, but still a 3-1 road trip. This was a historic loss. The Celtics won 40, the Warriors 88, a 52-point loss for the Warriors. The largest regular season loss of Steph Curry's career, regular season and postseason. It's just the 4th time the Warriors have trailed at some point in a basketball game by 50 or more in the last 25 seasons. And for Boston, it is the first time in NBA, they're the first team in NBA history to win 3 games in a single season by 50 or more points. The first half specifically was very bad for the Warriors. They trailed at the half 82-38. That was simultaneously the most points the Warriors have allowed in any half this season and the fewest points they've scored in any half this season. So that first half, 82-38 in favor of Boston. No doubt about it, the worst half of the Warriors season. And it might be, you could maybe make a case for that being one of the worst halves in Warriors franchise history. That's how bad it was, and that's how good the Boston Celtics were. All right, let's hear from Warriors head coach Steve Kerr after the game in Boston. Again, his team falls 140-88. I'm sure we'll hear a lot of Steve Kerr just saying, all right, let's move on, get ready for the homestand. Not going to worry too much about this result, but let's hear from the man. It's Steve Kerr, head coach of the Golden State Warriors, reacting to today's Warriors lost 140-88 at the hand of the NBA's best Boston Celtics.
What was the decision, or when did you guys decide that Steph, Clay, and Draymond weren't going to return to the game?
It was either when they went up 42 late first quarter or 56 early second quarter, somewhere in that range.
Like, are you concerned about this type of performance?
No. So this is you flush it down the toilet. No, we had a great road trip, 3-1. We've had a million games. So Boston was amazing. We weren't beating them today. So we head home and get ready for Wednesday.
I don't think any strategic tweak would have won you the game, but you guys really sagged off Brown early at 19, right away. Was that part of the game plan? You try different things. You have to pick your matchups. We wanted Draymond to be able to help on drives and make sure that we weren't giving up easy stuff in the paint. The killer was the transition from the beginning all the way till the end. They got 42 transition points, so you're not winning a game, with that kind of defensive or lack of defensive awareness.
What about their defense on you guys?
They were great. They were physical right from the start. They were switching. They put ball pressure on. They were fantastic. They, Boston has a hell of a team, and this was a really impressive performance by them at both ends.
Ready to get home?
Yes.
You feel like Podziemski might be?
He'll be ready. He'll be good Wednesday. Yeah. If this was a playoff game, he would have played. Given where he is in his rookie year, getting the extra 3 days before the next game, I think he needed it, and he's played a lot of minutes for us. He's already played more games this year than he did in college last year. It's great for him to get the extra few days, but he'll be ready to go Wednesday.
Not that this is how you wanted Steph to rest with this being the circumstances, but does him having that second half to sit kind of ease some of those other conversations that you guys might have been having about finding opportunities to rest him?
At least, he played 15, 16 minutes, I think, so at least there wasn't a lot of wear, but it's different, when you give a guy a day off, he gets a day off. It's mentally refreshing as well, so this was not a day off for Steph, although he probably could have used one. He's played so well and for so long this year, but hopefully the next few days will get him recharged, and hopefully he'll go out and play golf or something, get away from it, and come back Wednesday night ready.
Any Wiggins update?
No update. Yeah.
That was Steve Kerr at the very end. If you didn't hear the question, I think it was Anthony Slater. They're asking it at the very end. Any update on Andrew Wiggins? And Steve Kerr said no update. Now, the Warriors do have 2 days off before they play next. They're off tomorrow on Monday. They're off Tuesday. They got the Bucks coming into town on Wednesday. Of course, Steve Kerr will be asked pregame about Andrew Wiggins if there's no news before then. But a lot can happen in a couple of days, so we will see there. I will say, if you're looking at performances today, Moses Moody had a good start to the game once again. He finished with 11 points. You can throw ultimately all the stat lines out the window. Flush it, as Steve Kerr said, for the whole game. Like, nothing in terms of total stats really matters. You can find something wrong with everybody's stat line. Let's see. Lester Quinones led the team with 17 points. He was a game worst minus 37. Now, the reason he was minus 37 was because he played the most minutes. And when you play the most minutes in a game in which you lose by 52, you're also probably going to have the worst plus minus. And that was the case for Quinones. So you can throw all of the numbers out the window. It does not matter. I thought Moses Moody had a good start to this ball game when the Warriors were in this game and tied 21-21. He hit an early three. He had a transition dunk off a pass from Clay, who caught the outlet, then dropped it off to Steph, who found a cutting Moody. A nice dunk there. He fought for an offensive rebound. Ball was rolling around for a while, got that and finished. Another nice day for Moses Moody, but again, didn't really play a ton in the second half, as any of the starters did not play. In fact, most of them, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, did not play at all in the second half. Speaking of Draymond Green, and one of the other things that you heard Steve Kerr talk about there was the decision to dare Jaylen Brown to shoot three-pointers, a la teams do to Draymond Green, a la the Warriors did to Andre Roberson in playoffs past, as they did to Jeff Green. Or pardon me, not Jeff Green. I'm blanking on his name now. I had it earlier. Tony Allen. I don't know why I thought Jeff Green. Tony Allen of the Memphis Grizzlies, as the Warriors did to Tony Allen way back when they just pretended he did not exist on the Memphis offensive end. The difference is that Jaylen Brown is an all-star and a very good offensive player. Draymond Green in the postgame locker room was asked about the decision and the strategy that the Warriors implemented to sag off Jaylen Brown, and he said, quote, they came up with the decision to do that, quote, like 15 minutes before we left the locker room. So it was like a last-second decision by the Warriors. Draymond Green continued saying, quote, I thought it was fun to try. I was actually all for it. It didn't work. Oh, well, we move on. So at least Draymond Green having a little bit of fun with it post-game. But it was kind of perplexing early on. Not that Jaylen Brown is an elite three-point shooter, but he's darn near 40%. That's not bad. It's pretty good. And he's an all-star in the NBA for a reason. You can't leave a guy open like that time and time and time again. Now, maybe you get lucky and he misses a few and then he gets in his own head and then maybe he's hesitant to shoot. But he made two of his first four and then he kept shooting and he kept making them. So once it did not work early, I think it required a very quick reset and switch. That reset and switch came too late because then he hit he had a three on three consecutive possessions, turning a 21-21 tie into a 30-21 Boston lead in the blink of an eye. They would keep adding on to it. It was a 23-1 run for Boston over the final 6 minutes of the second quarter. And they added to that in the second quarter over the final 18 minutes of the half for Boston. It was a 61-17 run. A 61-17 run for the Celtics over 18 minutes, the final 18 minutes of the first half. I do see some upset Warrior fans on the Comcast Business text line, 888-957-9570. The 415 says, shall we say exposed? I don't want no excuses. No excuse for 4 Hall of Famers. No excuse for an embarrassing loss like this. I get it. It was embarrassing. You lose by 52 points. You trailed by more than that at one point. What was the Celtics' largest lead in this game? They led by 56 points. The Celtics led by 56 points at one point in this game. I get it. Embarrassing. But a loss is a loss. It only counts for one. You can lose by 1. You can lose by 52. You can lose by 100. It only counts as one loss. Now, where maybe there is a danger is if this, gets into the mental space of the players. You remember it, you're worried about it, and it affects you moving forward. I think the Warriors are in a space mentally where it's not going to affect them moving forward. I mean, they haven't lost like this before, but the Warriors have had their fair share of blowout losses, even in key moments. I think back to the finals against these Boston Celtics 2 years ago. You lost game 1 at home. That was a close one. Then you won game 2. Game 3 in Boston, it wasn't quite this bad, of course, but it was a game where Boston just came out on fire. I think they led by like 20 in that game, and you felt like you were never really in it. I remember earlier in the playoffs 2 years ago against Memphis. I mean, there was the game, remember, where Memphis fans are chanting and Draymond Green got ejected, and there was the Gary Payton II injury, the Dylan Brooks dirty play and all of this, and the Warriors lost, I think it was game 3 in Memphis after they went up 2-0 or whatever the situation was. Oh, no, Memphis was the higher seed. The Warriors were the road team for the first 2 games. They got blown out in a game in that series. It's happened in the past as well. I think back to that Oklahoma City series back in the 2016 playoffs when the Warriors went down 3-1. In games 3 and 4 in OKC, the Warriors were not in those games from the second they tipped off. Like, they've been through losses like this before, and maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm alone in this thought, but I think they are veteran enough. I think they're savvy enough. I think they are tough enough mentally to not let a loss like this snowball and affect them moving forward. Now, if it does, that's an issue, but I don't think it will. I think this is one where the Warriors say, all right, we'll just take this night off, and we'll get back at it on Wednesday against the Milwaukee Bucks when they're in town, and we'll get some home cooking going. I don't know. We'll see. But I don't think it's that big of a deal. I appreciate the energy to the 415 on the Comcast Business text line, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. The 408 brings up a good point. Look at their last 6 days, and there's your answer for the bad game. Don't make it more than that. I agree with you. And I would say look further than the past 6 games. Even with this loss, the Warriors have still won 13 of their last 17 games. Things are looking up even with today's loss. All right, so the Warriors lose today. Again, historic fashion, a 52-point loss, the largest regular season loss of Curry's career. And now they return home Wednesday against Milwaukee, Thursday against Chicago, Saturday against San Antonio. Then you're in San Antonio on Monday, so you've got a home and home with the Spurs coming up. Those should be 2 wins for the Warriors, you would hope. Then you got Dallas on the road, the Lakers on the road. Then you return home for the Knicks, the Grizzlies, and the Pacers. 6 of the next 9 at home for the Warriors, and now is their opportunity to get some home cooking going, because after that, 9 of the next 11 games, after these 9, 6 of them at home, after this stretch of these 9 games, 6 at home, 9 of the next 11 are on the road for the Warriors. As we take a look at the Western Conference standings as we speak, the Warriors slot in as the 9 seed, percentage points ahead of the Lakers for the 10 spot. The Warriors are 32-28. They're a game and a half behind the Mavericks, who already lost today to the Sixers. Thank you, Philadelphia. And the Warriors are 2.5 games behind the Kings for the 7 spot and 3 games behind the Suns for the 5. Also 3.5 games behind the Pelicans for the 5th spot in the Western Conference. The game to keep an eye on moving forward if you are a Warriors fan. Unfortunately, the Clippers did beat the T-Wolves today. Not that the Warriors have a legitimate chance to catch the Clippers, but that was one to keep an eye on. But the more important one tips off in a little less than 3 hours, 6:30 Pacific Standard Time. The Thunder in Phoenix taking on the Suns. Warriors fans should be Thunder fans for tonight's game, because if the Suns are to lose, that would mean the Warriors would be just 2.5 games behind the Phoenix Suns for the 6/7 spot, because if the Suns lose, they would be tied with the Sacramento Kings. All right, all we got to do now here on a Warriors Wrap-Up is decide who our hardest worker of the game is, and this might be the most difficult, hardest worker of the game to hand out. Hardest Worker of the Game is brought to you by the Alameda County Sheriff's Office, who works hard to serve the community. Are you looking for a career in law enforcement? Learn more about job opportunities at joinacso.com. Looking at this box score, let's see. The Warriors only had 3 players in double figures. Lester Quinones had 17. Moses Moody had 11. Jerome Robinson had 10. Not great. I think I just got to go with the Celtic in this one. I mean, that's the only fair thing I can do here. I mean, you lose by 52 points. I'm not sure anyone is deserving of our Hardest Worker of the Game. Again, brought to you by the Alameda County Sheriff's Office. So I'll go with the Celtic, as much as that pains me to do. Jaylen Brown. We talked about him earlier. He was left wide open time and time again, and he made the Warriors pay. He finished with 29 points, 11 of 19 from the field, 5 of 10 from downtown. Of his 29 points, 19 of them came in the first quarter. He made Draymond Green and the Warriors pay for leaving him wide open. He connected a number of times. He began that crazy 23-1 run with a 9-0 run himself. He is our Hardest Worker of the Game. Again, brought to you by the Alameda County Sheriff's Office. I feel okay giving it to Jaylen Brown. He went to Cal. He's got some ties to the Bay Area. So Jaylen Brown, our Hardest Worker of the Game. All right, that'll do it for Warriors Wrap-Up today here on 95.7 The Game. Again, the Warriors back in action on Wednesday. Tip is at 7. Pre-game coverage begins at 6 with Warriors Live here on 95.7 The Game. But make sure you're tuned in bright and early tomorrow morning. I can tell you that Spadoni and Shasky are back. So you've got Spadoni on the pregame show at 5 in the morning. Bonte and Shasky will be reunited for the morning roast, 6 to 10 tomorrow. Steiny and Gu, 10 to 2. Willard and Dibbs, 2 to 6, as always, here on 95.7 The Game. So we have that to look forward to tomorrow and the rest of the week. All right, that'll do it for us here today on this Sunday. For Chris O'Connell, for Sterling Bennett.
I am the system of this show.
Yeah, there we go, Gu. You hear Gu beginning at 10 tomorrow morning here on 95.7 The Game. But for Chris, for Sterling, my name is Mark Grandy signing off. Thanks so much for tuning in. The Warriors, a historic loss to the Celtics, 140-88. But hey, still a 3-1 road trip, and now they return home. We'll talk to you next time on 95.7 The Game.
We're Warriors! I'm tired of getting pushed around! Kick your ass!
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper, and you can get it online?